Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We are doing Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade today, but we've got a very special guest on this episode. Brian, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Brian Stevens. I am the co-host of a couple podcasts. Midnight Film Review is my main one, and I just launched another one called The Late Fee Files. You can find me everywhere you get podcasts. I'm happy and excited to be on this with you, Holly. I'm super excited to talk to you.
I'm super excited too. We've been TikTok friends and Instagram for a while.
Yeah. You're putting out a lot of content, man. It's hard. You are prolific, and I appreciate that.
I'm doing my best, just trying to get stuff out there, trying to hit the algorithm a little bit.
It's
Trying to do
difficult.
the once a day thing. Every so often I have one that does well. And by does well, I'm like, yeah, 200 views.
It's hard. I mean, it took me a long time. Just this is the funny thing. I feel like you're kind of similar to me. You don't like to be negative. I don't like to be negative, right? But man, that algorithm loves negativity.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that took off for me was I gave Sharp Stick, Lena Dunham's movie, a couple years a bad review, and that's like the thing that gave me the most followers. But it's like it's no fun to be negative. I love film. I would be happy about it, you know?
Me too. That's why my podcast is largely just movies that I have already seen that I like, and then even ones that are bad. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna say anything bad about Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed. I don't care that it's garbage. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm. It's frustrating because, like, I'm with you, but people just eat that up, and it's like I don't want to be negative. I just can't. There's enough negativity in this world. I want to be positive.
Yeah, same. So, can you tell me a little bit about your background with movies and how you came to loving them?
Yeah, so it probably similar to you. We talked a little bit beforehand. My dad was a huge influence. He loved movies. Same thing with my mom's dad, my grandfather got me into film. Those two were probably the biggest influences because it was like if I was at home or at my grandparents, every weekend we were renting movies or going to see a movie. My dad took me to the theater probably at too young of an age. I remember the first movie I saw in the theater, well, and this is going to show my age a little bit, but was Star Trek 4, Voyage Home. So that was I was like 5. And so that was like my first experience in a movie theater. But also, and I don't talk about this a lot because I just don't want it to be like some kind of weird flex, but Luke Perry is my second cousin. So my grandma and his mom are sisters and really close to that part of the family. And so at a young age, I was like 9 when he like made it big. It was like I knew this person on screen. And so like it felt like something that like was real, and I just fell in love with the film. Everything he ever did, like we would go to the theater. Obviously, it was a big deal in my hometown of Mansfield because he was from here. So, they had openings at our one theater in town. So he just was it's ingrained in my family.
Mhm. Well, I'm sorry for your loss a few years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it was really rough because my grandfather passed away, the one that, I shared the love of movies with. He passed away either 2 days before or 3 days before Luke. And so when Luke had the stroke, his mom was actually with my grandpa when they got the call. So it was just like a really terrible time for my family. It's like a double dose. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Was there a specific film that changed what you changed your concept of what a movie could be?
I saw this and I thought about this because you sent me the questions and I was like thinking about this forever. It was probably at a pretty young age, I think. Speaking of Spielberg, and I think this is probably the magic that Spielberg has, but it was probably Jurassic Park because it was like I was old enough to kind of understand. I was like 13, I think, when 13 or 14 when Jurassic Park came out, and so I think that movie, just the way that it felt real, it was like such a lived-in experience, and it goes from comedy to drama to action to thriller to horror. It like covers every genre of filmmaking, and I think that was like the moment where I was like, wow, this is movie magic. This is what it is.
Yeah. I think he has an effect even in movies that he just produces or is somewhat involved in. Because my canon event film is Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wait, what is this? Because obviously I'd watched lots of films, and then by that point, but more kid based, and then seeing this, and you're like, movies can be this too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Spielberg's incredible, in my opinion. Who are some of your favorite actors?
So I'm unabashedly obsessed with Daniel Day-Lewis. I think he
Oh.
is the best to ever do it. Like, in all of him, like everything he does, I really truly think that he's the best to ever do it. I love Jimmy Stewart. There's just something about his charisma. I would say working today, the one that every time I hear that he's making a movie, I'm like, it's just my interest is piqued is Oscar Isaac. I think I don't really think that his talent has even really scratched the surface. I want to have a talk with his manager because I don't think because he can sing, he can act, he's funny. Like he can do it all, but I feel like, I don't know, his choices haven't always, I don't think, fit the profile of who he can be. But those are like covering generations. So it was like,
Mhm.
Jimmy Stewart, obviously a legend. Daniel Day-Lewis, I think, is the greatest of all time. And working today,
I'm excited to see what he's going to do with Frankenstein.
I'm super excited for that too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping. We've been having like a resurgence of horror films in the last like 6 or 7 months with like Nosferatu,
Hmm.
and then Sinners, obviously. But I'm excited to see what happens with Frankenstein too.
Excited. Yeah. And, Del Toro is amazing. So I have a lot of faith.
I'm so excited. Who are some of your favorite directors?
Obviously, Spielberg. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about Spielberg, so I'll just kind of leave it at that. But my all
Mhm.
time favorite director, and the one is like, if I could just sit down and talk to them for, 10 minutes, would be Paul Thomas Anderson. Obviously, he's worked with Daniel Day Lewis a few times, but I think, in my opinion, he is the best working auteur. I think he is the best writer, and he's the best director, and one of the best. Like, I just think when it comes to the totality of filmmaking, he is the best. Definitely top of the list. One I wanted to definitely mention, just because I say this all the time and I want people to check out his movies, is Jeff Nichols. So if you aren't familiar with Jeff Nichols, I would say probably the most popular movie that he's done was Bike Riders last year with Tom Hardy. But if you look at his filmography, it's all over the place. He did a movie called Midnight Special, which is very. Have you seen Midnight Special?
No, I haven't.
It's very Spielberg-esque, and I don't think that movie got enough credit because it's a little bit darker than I think people would want from that type of movie. But yeah, I would definitely check it out. I think it's one of the most underrated films of the last, I guess it came out in 2016, like decade or so. But it stars Michael Shannon. Yeah, and Michael Shannon works with Jeff Nichols a lot, but he's another director that I just want more people to check out his stuff. Mud, if you with Matthew McConaughey, is another one of his films. Shotgun Diaries, and then Take Shelter are like, those are like his main movies. But yeah, those are probably three of my favorites: Spielberg, PTA, and then Jeff Nichols.
What makes a movie good to you?
This is like a really tough question. I think that the thing that obviously needs to be entertaining. That's one. I think if it's entertainment, so kind of needs to be entertaining. But when I look at a movie, the first thing, I'm a big like reader, but also like I like to write. So scripts are like one of the
Hmm.
things that, if it's a bad dialogue or a bad script, I have a really hard time with plot holes, especially in a movie that's trying to be serious or take itself serious. Obviously, I can like brush some of it away depending on the style of the movie, but to me, it just has to be entertaining. It has to be something that I enjoy watching. There's movies that are good. Like, again, I'm sorry, I just comes back to Spielberg, but I mean, he's got a wide range. But something
Yeah.
like Schindler's List is like, I think, one of the greatest films of all time, and it's powerful, but it's not necessarily enjoyable, right? So
Yeah.
like, it's
It's gonna
something.
be on my list for this summer, and I have it and The Color Purple, and I was like, I actually can't emotionally do both. I'm like, I'll do The Color
Yeah,
Purple because at least I am left with a feeling that Steely is okay.
yeah,
I can't do Schindler's List. I'm like, I don't think I can ever watch that movie again.
that same. That's the way I was like, I don't just. I know it's a great movie, and it's competently well made, and it's beautiful in a lot of ways, but it's like not something that I want to ever revisit, like, just because of the. It's something that everyone should see once, but
Hmm.
you know. So I just would say that just entertain me. Like, that's if what makes a good movie is it's entertaining. Like, one of my all time favorite films is The Burbs. Is that a good movie? No, I understand it's not. I understand that it's kind of goofy. That is one of my favorite movies. I'm gonna always go to it because I love it. It's comforting, and it's entertaining.
I feel like everybody's got like a list of like films, especially if you watch them like early enough in childhood. You're like, this is great, and I refuse to
Hmm.
revisit this
Hmm.
at all emotionally.
Hey, you love it. That's all that matters, right? Who cares?
And so I asked this questionnaire to everybody that comes on the podcast, and by everybody I mean like all three people. But
Of
did you ever watch Inside the Actors Studio at all? Or
course,
familiar
yes.
with the show? Well, that's like primarily where I come to film is from a like acting background and well, at least just like through like high school and stuff and drama. And so I like this because it was my little dream to sit on that stage. So I like asking people this. So this questionnaire done by James Lipton, originally by Bernard Pivot. What is your favorite word?
I feel like this is cliche, and I don't know. I thought about this for a while, and I was like, is it the most favorite, or sorry, is it the word that I say the most, or is it the word that I like the way it sounds, or is it the meaning? And I just took it for the meaning, and it has to be love. Like, my favorite word is love, because that's really what I think life's about, and that's what I want to spread. That's so corny, but it's true.
I think we need more of that in the world right now.
For
We need
sure.
way more. Spread as much.
Yes, I agree.
What's your least favorite word?
This was even harder for me because I don't like. I'm not one of those people who are like, you can't say moist or something like that. You know, there isn't a word that I would say, but um, that I don't like. But the word that I hate to hear the most is can't. And I talk to my son about this always. Like, don't say you can't. And my grandpa was big on this. This is this. You know, my grandpa, my family's full of a bunch of hillbillies, but they would say can't, never, could, and that was
Yeah.
like something that stuck with me. Like, just meaning like can't means that it is impossible, and nothing is impossible. So can't is probably my least favorite word.
What turns you on?
I would say intelligence is probably the thing that's would most stick out. So many things are fleeting, beauty, you know, feelings, but someone who is intelligent and not just like book smart. My wife is extremely book smart, but emotionally intelligent too. So yeah, intelligence for sure.
What turns you off?
Oh, this one is easy. Just cockiness. I hate any smug cockiness. It's just I hate it. I hate it. It's the biggest turn off in the world.
What's your favorite curse word?
Probably the one I say the most, and it's shit. I shouldn't say it as much because my son says it time to time. That was like one of the first words he said was shit, unfortunately. So it's probably shit.
I feel like that's a struggle all parents go through. My daughter said fuck so early because she dropped her fork off her high chair and she just like looked down at it. Perfect contents is like fuck. Oh my god.
Yes. That's that is very similar to my son. He was pretending to Swiffer the floor, and he drops the handle on the ground, and he goes shit. And we have it on video. We captured it on video. It's hilarious. Yeah.
I love it. What sound or noise do you love?
I feel like I'm being just super corny, but again, I love the sound of my son's voice. It's just it's so special. Like, you know.
I've had 3 parents on this podcast, and 3 parents have given me that answer. I think it's just the best sound.
It is. It's awesome.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Chewing. Hearing someone chew. It's the worst.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would love to be a screenwriter. I would love it. I've written quite a few scripts in my time, and I've never made $1 off of any of them, but I love writing, and I will continue to do it.
What profession other than your own would you not like to attempt?
Oh, man, that's anything that probably like a stewardess or something like that, like a flight attendant. I hate flying, so that would probably be, would not want to be in the air for a job. No, I don't like heights. I don't like flying, so.
Yeah, no, that's probably the worst. And then you have to deal with people that are angry all day
Oh
long.
yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, also I hate salesmen. I don't hate salesmen. I hate the sales process. Like, I'm not salesy. I don't want to sell you anything. I don't want to be sold. So that would probably be another one.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done. Come on in. Well done. Come on in. Yeah, definitely not leave. Not go away.
Wrong way.
Wrong. Yeah. Wrong place. Just well done. Come on in.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We should probably get into the Last Crusade. But I gotta ask you before we get started, like, where did you enter, like, the canon of Indiana Jones? Like, what's your, like, I feel like there's several versions of it, but, like, what's your favorite of the series, and, like, how did it come into your orbit?
Yeah, so I mean, I actually don't know how old you are, but I'm 43. So these films were like, you know, right around my childhood, right around when I was able to, you know, to really absorb them and know what they are. So again, my grandfather had HBO, and he had, you know, he had a cable box. So I remember seeing, the Temple of Doom first, actually.
That's when I saw it first, too. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 29, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm a little bit older than you, almost a decade and a half. But
We're both millennials.
yeah, yes, I am a millennial. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, we'll take it. So Yeah, so like I saw Temple of Doom, and I remember falling in love with that character of Indiana Jones, and seeking out. I don't think that. I'm trying to think. I think Arc was definitely next, but I'm trying to remember because I didn't see it in the theater. I didn't see Last Crusade in the theater. So I may have rented them at the same time, actually. Like I'm trying to remember in my head when I first saw it. I know it was on VHS for sure. So I think I like maybe saw Temple of Doom and was like, this is awesome. There's more. I gotta consume it. So and that's kind of why I like I think you're gonna ask this, or maybe you did in the question, but like Crusade is the best in my opinion, which is
Yeah.
strange that the third film is the best in the series. It's the one I love the most. I think it's, but everybody dislikes Temple of Doom, and I understand some of the reasons why, but I still think it's fantastic. It's
Here's my
amazing.
thought on Temple of Doom. I think if they had just not cast Kate Capshaw and they cast somebody more likable, I think Temple of Doom would not get this stuff because I think it's a film from the 80s that has aged poorly in terms of the reflection of the culture that they're doing. And they've said that they wanted to do some satire, but they didn't do it big enough that that was clear. But I think if they had cast Kate Capshaw, and I saw this on another podcast with like Goldie Hawn, the film is like a different movie because she's likable and she could be kind of a princess, but she's so funny
I
and
love
warm
that.
that it would have been so like it would have been played much more silly. And in my personal opinion, I think Fran Drescher would have been great because she has that same thing
Oh,
of like natural.
yeah.
She's naturally likable and warm, and she did with the nanny or whatever. She does that fish out of water thing where
Mm,
she's not fitting in with what's going on, but it makes you like her.
right.
And right, like I think she was poorly directed because Spielberg had a thing for her, and
Yeah,
that's why
right.
this movie
Yeah.
sucks.
That makes sense. I actually, the Goldie Hawn thing, I think is like super spot on.
I can't take credit for it. I think it was Blank Check, the podcast that I heard
Okay.
it on. But
I
I
mean,
was like, I don't want to take credit for it's like Blank Check or Unspooled or what went wrong. I can't remember which one it was, but one of them said that. I was like, that's brilliant.
that makes sense. I like, yeah, she, Kate Capshaw's character is kind of grating. Like you just, like you said, it's not likable. And I mean, for all the faults, I think, of the movie, one thing I think it really does do well is I think that the darkness actually lends it to be kind of cool because it's just a little different than the other movies, right? I think I liked that darkness in it. So yeah, I will defend that movie forever. I know.
I defend it too because like, and I also love the minecart. The minecart sequence is the best action in the whole franchise. And
Amazing.
the opening sequence with Anything Goes is the best in the whole franchise. And I'm sad that they only had a short round for the one movie. Because
I agree.
his chemistry with Indiana Jones, I think, is better than actually any of the love interests.
Mhm.
It's awesome. He makes the movie so much better.
Completely, I completely agree. 100% that I think that I don't know. I know Harrison Ford has been accused of being kind of like a grumpy man his entire life, but I don't know. I feel like he has good chemistry with kids. This like if you look at his movies, like anytime he is acting with a child, it's just it feels like it works sometimes a lot better. Like
Well, that's how River Phoenix got cast in this film. Was he had worked with him on? He'd worked with him. I can't remember what the
Mosquito Coast.
Mosquito Coast. They worked together, and Harrison liked him so much. He said, "Well, this kid looks like me. He played my son in this movie. Let's just bring him on." And you know, there's an interview I watched of River Phoenix talking where he's talking about how he used to like impersonate Ford on the set and that Ford thought it was really funny. So like he can't be that grumpy if a kid's like trying to make fun of him and he's like, this is
Right.
so good. Let's bring you onto this giant franchise.
Yeah, no, there you go. And I mean, maybe it's just like his persona to the media. Maybe he just hates doing media, which I get. But I just he gets that gruff. People talk about him being gruff and sometimes not likable on set. But yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe he just likes kids. Adults are annoying, right? And like
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to hang out with kids because they're so innocent and kind and fun. So maybe that's it.
And not like caught up with some of the Hollywood
Yeah,
bullshit.
exactly. Yep, good call.
Like it kind of seems like maybe if he were to do like I'm gonna stay like you were to do a whole I'm gonna stay in character for the entire set, he'd be like, okay.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, exactly.
So the return to this was part of the 3-picture deal that Spielberg had signed with George Lucas for the original films, and Ford had signed as well. They had wanted to move into the more original spirit of Raiders after kind of the backlash that they received, which we both believe is kind of unfair for Temple of Doom. And so they brought back a lot of these side characters like Sala and Marcus Brody and a few people from Raiders. Spielberg unfortunately had to drop out of Rain Man in order to direct this, which I would have loved to see a Spielberg version of Rain Man.
That was a really, I didn't know that until you sent over your notes, and I was like, whoa, that is shocking. But now that like you say that and I see that, I could see Rain Man being a Spielberg film.
Oh,
I think I don't know if you agree with this, but I think it would have been much better and probably a little bit more endearing.
yeah, I think he probably would have buffed out a lot of the things about Tom Cruise's character that need to be
Mm,
buffed out. Because I am a Rain Man stan. Covered it in April during Autism Awareness Month, because although it is not a perfect representation, it is the like first mainstream representation of
right,
autism. It isn't like it's got a lot of outdated terms, and obviously the way they talk about it is not the way we talk about it anymore. But in terms of like the dedication of the filmmakers to try and have Raymond never be the butt of the joke. He's not. Raymond is the hero of the story.
right,
We're never laughing at Raymond. We're laughing with him when we're trying to understand things. And Tom Cruise is painted as being like, this is the asshole who doesn't like take the time to understand his brother. Not Raymond is difficult because he has autism. So I will defend Rayman. Plus Dustin Hoffman, I think, spending over a year and a half with different people trying to really like, I'm not going to do a caricature. I want to be a real person.
right.
I got off on a tangent. That's what I
No,
like about Rain Man, but I would have loved to see a Spielberg version of that because I don't know, Spielberg has like a such a warmth. Plus, I think Spielberg is at his best when he talks about fathers and sons, which is the
completely
basis
agree.
of Rain
Completely agree. And he does it a lot. I mean, that's why like a lot of his movies are about familiar relationships, obviously. And that's just really easy to relate to. And it's not groundbreaking, but it's not groundbreaking storytelling, but it is very human and it's something that appeals to us. So, I mean, and he's really good at it. It doesn't seem cloying or artificial in any way. That's why I was saying, like, I think if he did do Rayman, it would be like really endearing.
Yeah, I think so too. So the first concept of this film, it was actually set in a haunted castle, which Spielberg rejected due to recently working on, or what most people assume was ghost directing, Poltergeist.
Yeah, I'm a huge Poltergeist fan, and again, you can see like I know like he's denied it, Toe Poopers kind of denied it, but you can see his fingerprints on that movie. It just feels in areas like
Yeah.
this is a Spielberg influence film.
And then the earlier drafts didn't have Henry Jones' character. Spielberg, of course, because instead of going to therapy, has just chosen to bless us with the best movies of all time.
Let's take it.
Just doesn't want to do father son thing.
Yes, please.
And he didn't want to do the Holy Grail initial concept, but him and Lucas sort of worked it out that the search of the Grail would ultimately be the search of Indy finding his father.
Can I hijack this real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to hear your thoughts on George Lucas because I have a take on George Lucas, but I want to hear your thoughts on George Lucas.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Okay, there you go. I truly
I think that George Lucas, had he not been married to his wife, would never have become an icon because I think Marsha Lucas is the reason that he is the household name, and I think he then attached himself to some very good partners like Spielberg. And when he's left on his own, he really fucks things up.
yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, so here's the thing. Don't think I think that he is a good ideas man. Like I think he like is one of those people who's like he has good ideas, but I don't think he's a good writer. He is not a good director. Like I mean, I will forever say that he is one of the most overrated, and I know that film talk community hates this, but I just think he is overrated. Like I think that his ability to tell a story is not. He's relied on the talent of others, like you said. I'll just leave it at that. I think he's a good ideas man. He has some really cool concepts and ideas, and he needs everyone else to interpret it for him.
Oh, it's okay. I have a hot take. I think Francis Ford Coppola is in the same thing. I think he made 3 good movies.
That's yes, agreed. I cannot stand his film.
We
I
just
mean
put
it's
one, two Apocalypse Now, and the rest of them were garbage. And I will never forgive him for Dracula ever.
It's terrible. I am with you. I do not understand the love of Francis Ford. I've said it a million times too. Like, I don't get it. Don't get it. He, and I say this about Godfather too. I don't know how you feel about Godfather, but without Brando carrying that movie and the actors, honestly, like, I don't feel like the direction is anything special.
The direction's not special. What's special is the fact that he just happened to cast like the casting is what's amazing. And you've got Brando, but you've got Pacino, and before we have like Pacino, who I love too. But we have like Pacino, who's from Panic in Needle Park, and he's gonna go do Serpico, and he's got this. He's quiet and he's small, and he's still a very stage actor.
Yep.
We've got him. You got Robert De Niro. You've got Robert Duvall. You've
James
got
Caan.
James Caan, like just an incredible cast. Yeah, I think I don't think it's the direction that makes that film.
You nailed it with George Lucas, though. I love that take. I'm gonna steal it.
it.
It's like Marcia. It was all Marcia.
I do. Justice for Marcia, because the second she stopped editing, the films weren't as good.
Yeah. No, you're right.
They forgot in the original, like in Raiders, they left Marion in the Well of Souls.
Know that.
They left her in the Well of Souls, and the movie just like ended, and she was editing, and she's like, "Where's the girl?" Like, we haven't seen her. They had to go back and reshoot just that scene of her walking down the steps before they do like the iconic shot. Because like before it was like Indy gets his award, iconic shot of it being locked up. Marion has not been seen since Well of Souls.
I mean, thank God for her, right?
Yeah, because like, and she often would be like, "No, like we actually need these characters to care about each other. It just can't be like Wookiee to Wookiee."
Wookiee to Wookiee. Man, I didn't realize any of that. I mean, I'm gonna do some research on Marcia Griffin, aka his better half.
Yeah. So for casting this movie, we obviously have Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. River Phoenix, we already talked about how he was cast as young Indy. We have Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr. Steven Spielberg pushed super hard for this because the original idea for Indiana Jones was essentially like a slight ripoff of James Bond, because they wouldn't let an American direct a James Bond film, which is what Spielberg wanted to do.
I mean, I'm fine with James Bond, but like, I'm glad we have these films instead. Much better.
Yeah. Of all the Bond films, I only really like Casino Royale and Skyfall. Connery's fine, but it's watching. I think for some of the older Bonds, you're like, I don't know, this is pretty sexist.
Yeah, there's a lot of misogyny in the 60s. Yeah, for sure. I mean, just the naming convention of the women, it's like, pussy galore. It's like
Holly Goodhead, I'll never get over that.
Right, yeah, and it's like,
I mean,
is it like,
was rough in elementary school?
Is it like 14-year-olds in a room coming up with this? Like, yeah. I will say, I mean, being a millennial, I love Pierce Brosnan's, I love Golden. I love those films. Those are not considered some of the greatest just because of, what followed after. Like you said, Casino Royale is a fantastic film. I like Skyfall a lot too.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're not even like, people were like, oh, this isn't like a real James Bond film. So like, I don't think it didn't necessarily have to be like James Bond. A lot of the stuff that was a bit toned down in those Daniel Craig ones.
Yeah, for sure.
We have Denholm Elliott returns as Marcus Brody. We have Alison Doody, hilarious last name. That must have been rough in elementary school. She played Dr. Elsa Schneider. She's from Ireland, so she had to train with a dialect coach for her Austrian accent. John Rhys Davies as Salah, and Julian Glover as Walter Donovan, who had initially auditioned for The Empire Strikes Back. Didn't get it, but they cast him in this instead.
Good cast. Obviously, I think this is, I don't remember, you weren't even alive at the time, but like, I feel like Sean Connery getting cast in this movie had to have been like bonkers to everyone. Like, can you imagine something like this? I'm trying to like compare what this would be like in today's, but it's like casting Sean Connery in an Indiana Jones film next to Harrison Ford. People were probably like just going crazy.
I don't think there's much to compare it to, because I don't think we have like these franchise films of like the same quality a lot of the time. Right. Or it's like such a diverse thing, like, a multi-universe of like 35 films. You're like, this actually isn't that crazy anymore.
Right. Yeah, no, that's true. He's definitely not on the level of this, but I feel like it would be like, I'm trying to think of a like a recent franchise, and then all of a sudden you're casting Tom Cruise as the dad or something. Like, Connery was a massive star in the 60s, 70s, but in the 80s his star kind of did dim. So like there is really nothing to really compare it to. I guess you're right.
No, not that I can think of, but I'm sure later today I'll think of it and then I'll message him like, "Oh my God,
Yeah,
this!"
this is like yeah. But anyways, I think it's really. I mean,
Um,
it just seems like I don't know. I feel like if that was to happen today or something similar to that, like that's would have been content for social media for like a month straight.
absolutely. There would have been a lot of, we would have done a lot of TikToks and popular sounds. Initially in the catacombs under the library, I just have a few things on the stunts and stuff that they did, not a ton. It was actually kind of hard to find a lot of stuff. I had to just watch one interview, like I think it was in the DVD box set of the making of this film. They don't dive as deep as they do in Raiders for research.
But it's kind of weird, don't you think? Like you would think this movie was in, the late 80s, early 90s. You would think there'd be more of this stuff because people were becoming more and more interesting. Like when I'm showing like my son, like he's getting into the behind the scenes things, and for like Ghostbusters 1. There is like nothing, right? But Ghostbusters 2, which is filmed kind of close to this, there's like a million different things that they have done over the years with Ghostbusters. So I just feel like this movie, you would think there'd be a ton of filming stuff behind it.
Yeah, it was the only thing I could really find was this one. It was like 40 minutes that I had watched, and it was actually on my DVD box set.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then there was like when doing research, there's like articles and stuff, but like when it's like quoting articles on articles on articles, I'm like, I don't want to use this because like
It's like
this is
telephone.
yeah, this is not peer reviewed research. This is fake news. So for the catacombs under the library, they actually bred 2,000 rats in captivity because they didn't want to unleash the bubonic plague on their cast.
That is what I mean. That is insane. I mean, that's obviously good, right? Like, I get why they did it, but like,
They're
what
just
is that?
worried about disease.
What does that look like? Like, do you go like the Spielberg or I don't know the set? Who comes up with this? Like, and it's like, listen, we need 2,000 rats. How do we do this? And then it's like, well, we got to breed these. How long did that take? Like, that is just an insane like fact. I read that like 3 times and it blew my mind. Every time, I'm just like, what?
Well, they used upwards of 1 million bugs in the Temple of Doom.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was like gross. And he was like, Spielberg, he said on this thing, he's like, yeah, we used snakes in the first one because it was thousands of snakes in the first one and bugs in the second one. He said, I need something new. So I said, rats.
You know what? That's awesome. You know what? The other thing about this blue line is that would have just been CGI today.
Yeah.
It just been, and that is like a bummer to think about.
Yeah. For the scene where they like when the catacombs get set on fire, it's mechanical rats that are all swimming through.
And which is obviously, I don't know. I guess I never thought about it, but like they're not going to be blowing up real rats, That, but
Well, it was the 80s. You don't
I know.
know. So
Yeah,
go
that's
back.
true.
Like, you watch Ben-Hur and you're like, oh, the horses.
I know. Like yeah, but I mean, the fact that they were mechanical, it just literally blows my mind. Again, if that was today, it would be CGI and it would look terrible. And
Yeah.
that's why this was the heyday of filmmaking. Like I'm gonna sound like an old man yelling at the cloud, but like mid to late '80s to mid '90s was like the heyday of like practical effects. It's when we had just enough good CGI mixed in where it didn't look terrible, but you still had to use practical effects for things, and it just looks so much better.
Well, it's part of the reason I think that like Jurassic Park, the original, has aged so much better than even like Jurassic World, whatever the first one is with Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
Those special effects look way more dated than the
yeah.
1994 Jurassic Park, and it's because it's only enough CGI to like get it over the edge. It's like they're using like essentially puppets for a ton of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And puppets and practical effects always it just looks better because it's real. There's like I was talking to someone about this too. Like there was a point in like I think the mid to late 2000s, like specifically with like Marvel stuff where CGI actually looked good and it actually holds up. But then it like crossed through the uncanny valley thing where it's like you can tell now once again, just like we did in the early 2000s, where that all this is CGI, and it just takes you out of the movie 90% of the time. It's really frustrating, and I don't get it, but I do understand that like practical effects are in a lot of ways now more expensive than CGI, which is a bummer.
Yeah, it's a there's like yeah, like it's tangible. It's
Right.
like like having like a DVD versus streaming. There's just something about having it,
Hmm.
I think, that
Yep.
just adds to the experience of like that was real. That took like I guess like CGI takes artistry, but like something
Mm.
about like a prop master and the building and the designing and the production design involved in all this is like I think
And you can tell by the interactions with the actual people interacting with it, right? It's a lot harder to interact with somebody dressed in a green suit and you're imagining a dinosaur versus someone who is actually touching, even though it's not a real dinosaur, they're touching a physical like thing, you know?
I mean, it's similar to how I feel about like another hot take. Why I prefer Disney animated films to anything that's happened since they've been doing like computerized images.
Mm.
I love Toy Story, but there's something about the warmth and the quality of a film like Robin Hood that just
Mhm.
isn't. We don't have an animation anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been one to like. I'm not a huge fan of animation, just to be honest. I don't hate them. Like Toy Story 3 makes me cry every time I see it. Like, but
It's good. It makes me cry. I'm not
yeah,
gonna say it's not good. I just there's something missing.
but I no, I can definitely see with you, and it's kind of like one of those things. Like when I forget what movie it was. Oh, the first Lilo and Stitch. When I showed my son, he saw all the stuff for the live action, and I was like, well, we gotta watch the original first, and he actually likes the original first better, which is kind of
It
you
is
know
better.
it is,
He's right.
yeah. But there's something about that animation, like you're saying, it's just like it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It feels like new in a weird way. I know it sounds like different to say, but it just feels like because we're just so inundated with the CGI and the Pixar and like all that stuff that when you see like a traditional style, it feels new and refreshing again. You know?
Yeah, and they did, 22 frames per second of somebody actually having to
Yeah,
draw. I don't know. I could go on for that could be a whole separate
for
podcast
sure.
that for me. So they shot in Venice in August, which made it particularly difficult for them as it's high tourist season, made continuity really difficult. Spielberg did shoot for the canal scenes in Venice when they're driving the boat in a tank because he refuses to make the same mistake he did with Jaws, shooting on open water.
Smart.
Um, and Allison Duty did most of her boat driving stuff herself, other than like the big stunt where they like run through the
Which
water,
one?
which she said was very difficult, and she was running around in heels, and she was very worried about breaking her ankle.
That is wild. Like, I mean, I've never. Well, I've probably wore heels like jokingly, but I've never like spent a day in heels. I mean, I'm sure you have, right? You've wore heels, right?
Yeah, but against my will, like it's just not
But as I'm saying, it's like I can't
right.
imagine like it is like the skill to do something like that, like and not break an ankle. Like that is
No,
wild.
yeah, and she's only 21 in this movie.
Right? Wow,
She's so young. She's only 58 now.
did not know that.
Yeah, which is a little. Harrison's in his 40s, so like a little, but
Yeah,
he's fine.
yeah. I mean,
It's pretty on par for casting for Hollywood.
that's about right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. That's perfectly.
And then, of course, she's got the relationship with Connery, so that's even worse.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I guess I didn't know that she was 21 here. I don't really think about that because she doesn't look 21. Like she looks
No,
older.
she does. But I think part of that's like people used to just look like themselves. We're used to people being like, I say it as though I haven't also done that.
No, but you're right. Yeah, I get you. I get what you're
I
saying.
say it as though I have, this is my original face. For the sidecar sequence that they have, it was added afterwards because Spielberg saw it and he thought that there wasn't like the level of action that he had set in Raiders and Temple of Doom, so they added the sidecar scene just to add it because otherwise it's largely just transportation in this film.
I do love that scene though. Like I rewatched it for this podcast and I was like, "Man, I forgot how much I love this scene." I mean, the boat scene is like the big set piece, I would guess, but the sidecar scene is like the fun scene. I would say. I don't know.
Yeah, I think my favorite, and it's again more use of practical effects, is when he's remembering his Charlemagne and he's like trying to chase away the seagulls, which they did like a wide master shot with mechanical seagulls on the ground, and then because you can't train seagulls, when he actually gets up close, all the birds flying are doves.
I didn't. Yeah, I did not realize it.
Because you train doves apparently.
They used. I see it now. I was like, I read through this whole thing and I didn't. I must have missed that they used doves because it was like that. I did not know that, and I didn't know that you couldn't train seagulls and that you could train doves. Well, I guess it doesn't make sense because doves are what carrier pigeons as well. Like they carry stuff, right? Don't people use doves to carry stuff?
I don't know. I think they used to use them for weddings and stuff,
For sure,
or
yeah.
at least they do on Shrek. Like that's
They definitely used to. I feel like that's maybe more prolific in like movies, but I definitely think you're right. That's really interesting. I mean, now I'm gonna be like watch it again and look and pause it. Like, is that a dove or a seagull?
So for the last desert action sequences, it was shot in Spain, and they built real tanks out of steel. So they were 28 tons apiece. And there's cool shots in the behind the scenes where they're Harrison Ford did all his own stunt work for that last, like that big stunt sequence in the desert. That's all him. So they had the tanks like rolling alongside him, and they have people above him like pouring dirt on him. Instead of it being as squished,
Yeah.
he's going really slow, and they're just moving the camera back on a dolly with him. But it did take 10 days to shoot instead of 2.5 days. A lot of it was they had to keep redoing takes when he was riding his horse because his hat kept coming off.
That's hilarious. You would think they would figure out like maybe some bobby pins in there or something. Like, I don't know, something to keep it on, right?
Yeah. They really did shoot those exterior shots in Petra, and they stayed as guests at the palace there for 5 days. This film was released, and it ended up making $474 million on a $48 million budget. So in today's money, that's $1.2 billion on a $124 million budget, which is the same as the Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1.
That's insane. That is insane to think about. Like, I'm glad that you put the inflation numbers in there because, like, obviously you're like, oh, 474 million. Like, that's. But then when you think about the dollars, like, that is a massive, massive hit. Like, gigantic.
Well, some of like because I largely will review movies that have been like released before, and you like look back and adjust the numbers for something like Sound of Music or like Gone with the Wind is still $4.6 billion on first box office release, and that was
Crazy.
before. That's before a wide release. Like the wide releases didn't happen for another like 40 years.
It makes you think like how? Yeah, I mean the amount of people that had to roll through, like, that's the other thing too, is I like to think about like how many people are actually like going, like, it was literally packed show after packed show after packed show after packed, like,
Yeah, and
insane.
some of those old ones like Gone with the Wind, 4 hours. Like they can only show that movie twice a day.
Right. That is crazy to think. The scoring those tickets, it's like, can you imagine you're just like, guess what, honey? I got, like,
Yeah.
that must have been really, really difficult to get. And that's part of the reason why those movies stayed in theaters for so long, is because they were just constantly selling out. Would be my guess. I mean, I wasn't alive then. I'm not that old.
You're talking 1930s old.
No, not that old.
So for reception of the film, it's got an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't like to use for older movies because obviously present criticism will knock those scores down. It's got a 4.1 on Letterboxd. I gave it a 5 out of 5. And my very witty joke that I spend the entire film crafting every time is a film worthy to talk in your sleep about.
I love that. I like it. That's a good one. What did you rate the other two movies, if you don't mind me asking?
I think Raiders I gave 4 out of 5. And Temple of Doom I gave 3 out of 5 because of largely Willie Scott.
Yeah.
Willie
Okay.
Scott lost a whole star for me, but the rest is, yeah. I find her so grating. So grating the whole time. And like Kate Capshaw has these quotes. She's like, I didn't know I needed to be like good representation for women in an action film. And you're like, why would that not occur to you? You make us all look stupid. Marion is such a badass, and then like Elsa Slider is like she's evil, but she's like on the same level as Indiana Jones. But like Willie, you're like, oh my god,
I love it.
making making us look bad.
So I have them all ranked at 4 out of 5 stars. Like, I have them all equally ranked. But I
Yeah.
like I said, I Ark and Temple of Doom are like right beside each other in my mind. Like, and I think Crusade is better. I probably should bump it up. I don't have any qualms about your rating. I just was curious. So you agree that this is the best in the trilogy?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's 100% the best because it has everything I like about Indiana Jones. I need religious mysticism. It's important. I don't want fucking aliens. I want I want religious mysticism. I need it to be Nazis. It's very important that I see several Nazis get punched in the face.
It's cathartic.
It's cathartic. I need it. It's good. It's good for the soul.
Agreed.
And I like a love interest that has like some sort of value, although Elsa Schneider's is terrible, but like somebody who is a good Indiana Jones needs to be able to spar with, and somebody who I don't know, he's like too clearly the smartest dude in the room in Temple of Doom, where I like that there's these other like points in his character through this film. where like he has to bounce off his dad, he has to bounce off Elsa, and there's all these people. Like he isn't. I don't know.
No, I appreciate that. No, I totally agree. And I would say that it's exactly what you said is part of the reason why, for me, the last two films didn't work nearly as well as this. Everything you said.
Well, yeah, and Harrison Ford is just like, I just think it's important to let some stuff go. Like, let's just like,
Yeah.
it's okay. We had a good run. Let's come up with something new. Or if you want him, it would have been very good as like an animated film with his voice.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened actually. Like, truly am surprised.
Because they could do anything, and it doesn't matter how old he is. You could do 100 of them. Because they are serials. Like, I have no problem with there being a million Indiana Jones films. That's how they're meant to be serials. They're not supposed to be like, you should be able to drop in and pick up whenever. That's what their style is. At a certain point, I'm like, the man is 82. Let
Right.
him sit.
Let him sit. Yes, exactly. So my thing with particularly with the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was they were setting that movie up so much to be like, this is Shia LaBeouf's, like he's gonna be the new Indiana Jones, and it just felt so Hollywood. Like it felt like just so comically commercial in this weird way. Didn't Nothing about that movie felt like naturally organic. You know what I mean?
No, I think it was just started as they were starting to kind of do that and being like, oh, we can make money if we keep doing this. People were going to play on some nostalgia
Yeah.
here. They figured out they can do that to us millennials and we'll go see it.
Yeah, exactly. And they've been doing it for the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's only worked a few times for me. Roger Ebert, who's like my favorite critic, gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars. I think overall he liked the film, but he said if there's a shade of disappointment after seeing this movie, it's because we will never again have the shock of the material seeming new as in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, more than ever, it seems to be a turning point in the cinema escapist entertainment, and that there was really no way Spielberg could make it new all over again.
Yes, I love Roger Ebert. Yeah.
Me too. He's kind of my go-to, my like touchstone of stuff.
Same. I mean, obviously, he elevated film criticism more than anyone ever. But I love the way that he was able to eventually, like, just change his mind about movies, too. You know what I mean? Like, he was able to re examine films in the future. You know, The Thing is a classic example where he didn't like The Thing when it came out, but then he, rewatched it and was open minded and changed his viewpoint on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like his stuff and his ability to like. I think a lot of critics are similar to the Academy, being like very like drama focused, where there'd be a lot of things where he'd be like, no, like this animated film is actually like fantastic, or this horror movie is super good. Like it doesn't seem to be as like genre snobby as a lot of other critics.
Completely agree. And I'm just gonna be honest. I consider myself a film critic. I don't get paid for it, but like I try to view it through the same lens. He said something in his book, and I remember reading it and just stuck out. Is like he always wants to judge a film based on what it's trying to accomplish versus like expectations that he brings on it. So like if it's a film that's supposed to be funny, is it funny? Is it making me laugh? Is it a horror film? Is it making me is it making me frightened? Is like what is the film trying to do, and is it accomplishing that? And that's how you rate a film. And that's kind of how I always look at criticism, is like, what is this movie trying to do? Is it accomplishing that? And then you can kind of look at the technical aspects and the acting and things like that. And I just think it's a really interesting way to look at filmmaking, because as a society, we're really hard on filmmakers a lot of times, and you make a couple bad films and you're kicked to the side of the road. And particularly him, I think he really understood how much power he had in his words, because if he crapped on a film, Hollywood would bring it up. If hey, Ebert gave you your movie 1 out of 4 stars, and so having that power and understanding it, I think he handled it really well.
Yeah, I agree. He's like, yeah, he's definitely like the first thing I will always like look up. I'm very sad when he died.
Terrible.
Nominated for 3 Academy Awards. Original score lost to The Little Mermaid, which I think super fair. Best sound lost to Glory. And then it won Best Sound Effect Editing. The film opens up in the desert in 1912. We see a group of men traveling on horseback through the mountains. They are robbing a grave while 2 kids watch, one of whom is Indiana Jones. And I love this scene because I think initially when it drops you in, you're not sure if like Indiana Jones is like a part of this. You're like unaware that he's the kid for a little bit.
Yes, I love that too.
They take a cross that's owned by Cordano. Indiana says a couple of his like quotable lines like, "This belongs in a museum." He sends his friend away to go get help, and then he steals the cross away from the grave robbers, and then we have the iconic, like, on top of the circus train fight scene.
Which has been tried to be duplicated many times and very rarely pulled off.
It's so good. Everything from, like, when he's falling and, like, the rhino horn is, like, coming up and the different cars he goes in and out of. And even, like, the long-running bit of, like, his where we discover his fear of snakes, which, like,
Yeah.
I'm already afraid of snakes, but I cannot imagine falling into a box of them and then a python comes up.
Yeah. Yes.
But, like, for the rest of this sequence, he just keeps pulling out snakes at opportune times.
That's yeah, that sets the tone of this movie, I think, really well, is that we get our faithful character back, but he hasn't changed all that much, right? Like he is who he is.
Yeah. Eventually he gets away, he jumps off the back of the train. We see like the long shot of the head of this like grave robbing gang just kind of like looking at him and like he's mildly impressed that this kid has bested him for the moment. He runs back to his father. We just see the back shot of his dad. He comes in. His friend has gotten the police, but it turns out the police are in cahoots with these grave robbers, and he gets the cross taken from him. And the head guy says, "You lost today, kid, but that doesn't mean you have to like it." And then we get the best shot in the franchise of the hat going on
On
the
the
head,
head.
goes down, up, and we're in present day.
Brilliant filmmaking. That's again just Spielberg. I mean, the that's probably like the 50th like legendary shot that he's made, but
Yeah.
it's just classic Spielberg.
There's so many good, and there's so many like during the Atkins, so many like Spielberg wonders that you like don't
Mhm.
realize are happening until like you go back for the 100th time and you're like watching for them. You're like, "Where's the cut? Where's the
Yeah.
cut?"
And see, like that's the difference between like again filmmaking then and filmmaking now, because everything is like so for show. It seems like where with him, it was like this is just what I do, like so professional, so good, and it, a lot. Sometimes when there's those long one takes or whatever, it takes you out of the scene because you're like, oh, this has been going on for a while. With him, like you're right, you're like you don't even realize it, like until you've seen it a million times.
Yeah, there's like quote unquote like no fat in his direction style. And I
Right.
think that's what his films like so timeless
Mhm.
and so watchable. Is you're not like he's not doing anything over stylized just to do it. Or doing it in a movie that doesn't make sense. We're like,
Right.
we don't need this shot. This is just so that you can show what cool tricks you can do with your camera.
Yeah, right. It's like you said, I love that there's not a lot of fat in his films. Like everything has a purpose.
Yeah, he's getting A to B. I think it's just largely like him not necessarily like going to like a formal like film school, like him just having to like figure it out in the back lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just being around filmmaking.
We cut to 1938. Indiana Jones takes back the cross from the grave robbers. He's on a large ship. He jumps off, clinging onto a life preserver, and the ship explodes behind him, and sort of implying that everybody else died. He eventually bested this guy. He returns back to his classroom to give a lecture on the class about not believing in mythology or treasure maps, which I think is kind of funny because at this point he's seen like everything that happened in the Temple of Doom sequence with the magic rocks, and he's seen the Ark of the Covenant. And he's
Right.
like, mythology not sold.
Right. Yeah. No, there must be some other explanation.
I want to read out this quote because I really like it because it just comes back to bite him in the butt. Archaeology is the search for fact, not truth. If it's truth you're interested in, Dr. Tyree's philosophy class is right down the hall. So forget any ideas you've got lost in cities, exotic travel, and digging up the world. We do not follow maps to buried treasure, and X never, ever marks the spot. 70% of all archaeology is done in the library, researching, reading. We cannot afford to take mythology at face value, which is proven untrue through the entire franchise.
Which is yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. But I think that's just Spielberg's like humor that always comes through. We then see a little scene with Marcus Brody where he shows him the cross. And we then cut to a scene with a man named Walter Donovan, who is his father's financial backer. And he essentially wants Indiana Jones to help him find the Holy Grail and reveals that Henry has gone missing while also being tasked with this. And he shows them the like half of the tablet that they have. And he explains it with, as you can see now, Dr. Jones, we're on the verge of completing a quest that began almost 2,000 years ago. We're just one step away. And Indy says, that's usually when the ground falls out from underneath your feet. And Walter Donovan says, "Find the men and you'll find the Grail." And Indy says, "You've got the wrong Jones, Mr. Donovan. Why don't you try for my father?" And Donovan says, "We already have, and your father is the man who disappeared." And I think this sort of sets off our initial theme of, are we looking for Henry or are we looking for the Grail?
Yeah.
Indy then receives a package from his father that is his diary that has the map to the Grail, as well as all his many, many notes over the years and years and years he's been working towards it. He then goes to his father's house to try to find him, finds that the place has been kind of ransacked, and he decides to take Donovan up on the job to go and look for his father. So him and Marcus Brody fly to Venice. We see the map, and they go and meet Elsa Schneider, the doctor, who Indy immediately hits on.
That's the James Bond influence.
Yes, it takes zero time for him to be trying to win one over on her.
That's so funny.
I was like stunned by it. I was like, wow, that's like the second line he said to her. I don't even know if he said hello yet.
I mean, classic male behavior, I guess. I don't know.
Not any male professor teachers that I've known. Like, every time you meet a man that's been locked in a library for 15 years, it's usually kind of awkward.
That's a good point. But I mean, this is Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah. I've said to my husband, I said, the hottest a man ever is Indy in the Temple of Doom and Christopher Plummer when he rips the Nazi flag in The Sound of Music.
Yeah, there you go.
The two hottest men that have ever existed.
Hey, I kind of agree with you there.
That everybody else is just playing for third.
Take note, hubby. There you go.
Elsa takes them to the library. And then we see like a big window where Indy recognizes some of the drawings from his father's diary. He tells Brody, but says, like, don't tell this lady, even though I'm desperately trying to sleep with her. Couldn't possibly share real information with her. And there ends up being a literal X, a Roman numeral 10 on the floor that they end up breaking through to find the catacomb below. But it's the sequence that I love, and this is such like a Spielberg moment of the librarian stamping the books every time.
But yes, that is, again, like you said, that is such a Spielberg touch. I don't know this for sure, but again, it feels like I could see him being like adding this to the script. You know what I mean? Like this not being in the original. This is something he added, 100%.
And there's this whole character arc where the librarian's like, "Am I the strongest man in the world?"
Yeah, right. And again, this is another thing that other films have tried to replicate. Like you see this with Spielberg all the time, and it's just like every time you see something like this again, you're like, this is Spielberg did it, and he did it better. Stop, do something new.
Yeah, there's a lot of those jokes in like some of the Marvel movies where you're like, I know what we're doing.
Yeah, right, exactly. No,
they smash to the floor, discover the catacombs, and they begin to follow it. And this is a sequence where it is just full of water and sewage and rats, and it's just horrifying. But of any of the things that any of the damsels have to go through, I do think Elsa has it better than the other two.
Agreed with that for sure.
Water and rats are so much better than like pits of snakes and dropping into volcanoes with your heart being ripped out.
Yeah, there you go. That's a distant first, I think. But I like knowing. I will say this: I don't really like anything that scurries. Like I'm not. I don't know about you. Like it's why I hate spiders. And mice aren't gonna hurt you. Rats aren't gonna hurt you, but they scurry and they're so fast. There's something about that just
unnerving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have like such a deep phobia of snakes, like so deep. And actually my line always is that Indiana Jones is afraid of snakes, so it's totally fine if I am too. But yeah, I'm like, I can't. They're so horrible. Like even like that sequence where Willie Scott in the Temple of Doom like grabs that, like I can like feel it in my hand. Like I hate it.
Listen, I'm not that afraid of snakes, but spiders, you will catch me I will be calling my wife standing on a chair like there's a spider in here. I don't do spiders.
Spider. Yeah, spiders don't bug me. I'm kind of okay with them. I'm like, but we have normal ones here, like where I live. No. Not like, I don't know what the spider quantity or quality is there, but like I think if I was in Australia, I would be terrified.
It sucks because I would love to go to Australia, but I don't think I can because if I saw one of those giant spiders, I would probably die immediately.
My dream is to go to Ireland because they have no snakes, and just run through long grass.
Oh,
it's a beautiful country.
Did not know that they don't have snakes.
Yeah. I want to go and lay down in grass with no fear.
Oh.
As they're going through the tomb, we see two men kind of mysteriously stalking them. They get all the way through the end of the catacombs. They find the knight's tomb, which has the same marking on it as the Grail tablet. And inside, it contains a shield that says that the journey for the Grail begins at Alexandretta. The two mysterious men then set fire to the tomb, and they survive by diving under the water and swimming to the canals with a little bit of movie magic.
Yeah. Another fantastic scene. Yeah. Do you know, I mean, I know that Ford did a lot of his own stunts. Did he do his own stunts in the scene? Do you know?
I don't know. I know he did the ones on the boat, which is what's coming up next. The men chased them through the canals, and so I think they said like largely like 70% was Allison Doody and Harrison Ford doing their own stunts for this particular sequence, at least the boating. It was just the big long shots where they
Oh, they used, yeah. That's impressive.
yeah, for when there's a fight for when they're fighting on the back of the boat and as the propeller's crushing it, that is Harrison Ford. They just used a wide angle lens and then extended the boat when they built it to give him more time. But I believe the guy standing in front of the blade was a stunt until they did close ups.
Which is
From
smart.
what I
That makes sense.
during all this, he reveals that one of the guys that reveals that they're from the Brotherhood of the Crucifixion Sword, which is dedicated to protecting the Grail. And then when they figure out that Indy isn't actually looking for the Grail, he's looking for his father, they essentially tell him that he's being held in a castle in Austria, and they bless him on his journey to find his father. Indy then gives Marcus the map from inside the diary with instructions to the Grail, and then he sends him to go meet Sala. And I'm just going to read out a little bit just so that it's a little more clear for anybody that hasn't seen it what the journey is. So the Knights of the First Crusade laid siege to the city of Alexandretta for over a year. The entire city was destroyed. The present city, Gurdrum, is built on the ruins. Marcus, you remember what the Grail tablet said? Across the desert and through the mountains to the canyon of the crescent moon. But where is that exactly? Marcus says your father would know. He did know. He made up the map. He must have had to piece it together through clues scattered across all of history of the Grail quest. A map with no names. Now he knew there was a city with an oasis due east here. He knew the course turned south and through the desert and the river led to the mountains here, straight to the canyon. He knew everything except for where to begin, the name of the city. And Indy says, Alexandretta, now we know. So after this interaction, Indy goes back to his room, finding that it's been ransacked, and Elsa's has been ransacked too.
I'm here. My cat was banging at the door. You were reading,
it's
so I was like, I snuck away real fast.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. So Indy heads back to his room. It's been ransacked. And then he goes to check on Elsa. It's been ransacked too. And he ends up revealing that the diary exists. And then it's suggested that they have a wild night of passion.
Again, James Bond influences here. I do think, though, it's funny because as sexy as Harrison Ford is as Indiana Jones, these movies are pretty sexless, right?
Well, Spielberg movies largely are very sexless.
That's true. I mean, would you say that this is probably his sexiest character is Indiana Jones?
Okay, I gotta think.
I mean,
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, I mean,
like there just isn't really none of his movies. I guess there's a sex scene in Munich, I think, but I don't remember it being particularly sexy.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that movie once and it was a long time ago, so I'm probably not as well equipped to speak on it. I don't know. You didn't, I mean, you've seen it recently?
Not super recently, like 10 years ago, probably. So I feel like there was, but like even movies that should, I mean, I harp on a lot about The Color Purple just because it's coming up, but like he just like, there's an entire, in the book, like sexual relationship between Suge and Celie, like a lesbian relationship, that in interviews he's like, I just didn't feel I was equipped to do it. So they just cut out half the book.
Well, so like, I mean, because I'm looking at his filmography right here, and I'm sorry for derailing the podcast if I am.
No, you're not. This is what a podcast is
But
for.
like, Catch Me If You Can, Leo, I think should be way more seductive in that because he's a seductive personality, right? That character is seductive. But I never feel like this sense of like seduction in terms of like the female, like his relationship with any of his love interests in that movie. I don't know. That's like, I think you're right. I think it's just not something that Spielberg is super interested in, probably, which is fine. Perfectly obviously fine. But I'm looking through his filmography, and it's like, yeah, like I didn't know that about The Color Purple. I've never read the book. But, like, just like going through, it's like there is literally not a whole lot of like, um, like just in within like the context of AI. Like, there's room to make like some of the characters sensual. He doesn't even try to touch that at all. The Fablemans, I think there's some that's which is weird because a lot of it has to do with his mom. But I don't like. Yeah, I'm like going through his filmography, and there's not a lot there.
Well, he cut because in the book Jaws, Hooper and Brody's wife have an affair, and they cut that out of the film as well. Like it isn't his. Like he's like, that's just not the dynamic he seems to roll
Right.
with.
But there is, I don't know how you feel this, and I don't want to be like, don't you agree with this? But like, I just feel like personally that maybe it's Harrison Ford and like millennials, just especially the ones that I know were like, man, he is so hot. But I feel like Indiana Jones as a character is a lot more just like sensual as a character.
I would say so, and I think it's like, yeah, just it's Indiana Jones strikes this like right balance of like he's equally as strong as he is smart,
Right.
and like he's got these like side characters where like he seems like to be rather emotionally intelligent, where he's like trying to connect with his dad, and he's adopted this like orphan boy, and like
Right.
you're like, wow, he'd be a really good father. Like, there's so
Yeah. Right. I hear you. Yeah.
And he's like, and it's also a thing that I think we've lost the plot in for both men and women aesthetically in film is like attainably attractive people.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford is an action star where like you do not need to take steroids to look like Harrison Ford
Right.
in the Indiana Jones
Completely
films.
agree.
Like he
Yeah.
looks like a guy that you work with who really like talks about the gym a bit. Like
Right. Yeah. No. Totally.
but not a guy that takes steroids. Like this guy, still drinks beers and whatever. And
Mhm.
I think that's part of what the like he's aesthetically like grounding. Like yes, somebody like Chris Hemsworth is like attractive, or so they say. It's not my thing, but it's so not grounded in like any sort of reality of somebody you know.
Right.
Where I
Right.
think
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, like he does feel like somebody you know, like reasonably he could teach English at a university.
Completely agree. Yeah. 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 And there is something, I guess, inherently like attainability is, like you said, it's kind of forgotten in today's society, right? Like, and I think that I just remember the only reason I think that is because I remember being in high school and I remember like all the girls in my class were like, "Oh, Harrison Ford is so hot." Just like I don't know, and I mean, I'm like I said, I'm a little older than you, but it's like he was older then too, but it was like he was like this, like just this icon that I don't know that girls loved, and like, I do think there's like a sense of with particularly the Indiana Jones character, there's a sense of like you were mentioning, like he's attainable, but he's a grounded like character, right? Like he has his flaws and he wears them on his sleeve, right? Like we know what this guy is, who he is, and like he's not a perfect character. Is my I guess my point too, and I think that
No.
makes him attractive as well.
I think for like what that particular like character is for like when I was in school was Johnny Depp in Pirates.
Sure,
Like
completely, I could
that
see
was
that.
like our like my like as middle millennials, our canon of hot is Johnny Depp in Deathmatch Just
Totally
like
get,
every
yeah. Yep.
this man with the eyeliner. I like it.
The emo look, right? The emo look.
Yeah, we had him, we had Billy Joe
There you go.
Armstrong,
Yes.
way.
Uh-huh. There you go. Yeah, for
That
sure.
was yeah, but that could have just been me and my like theater friends who were just
No, I think I definitely can see that. Yeah, for
all
sure.
wearing our Vans and really going through something.
I like it. Sorry, I
Uh,
didn't mean to throw you off there. I just
no, it's totally fine. That's what part of like that's what makes podcasts more fun. With they then travel to Austria, him and Elsa, where Indy pretends to be the a Scottish aristocrat, and he wants to see the tapestries, and they go to a castle that's under Nazi occupation, which I always love to see. My great grandmother, I've talked about this on the I think on my Inglorious Bastards episode. My great grandmother I think she was a maid in a house that was occupied by Nazis. And she could speak German, and so she sold secrets to the Allies
whoa.
from the German army. She was, well, not sold, she just gave it to them. And she was part of a group of people called the Freedom Fighters.
That's
So
amazing.
I always think about her when I see like films where there's Nazi occupation and like little things because she was, a cleaner and she was like 14 and she was just total badass.
Yeah, no, what like that I mean, that is just amazing. I couldn't imagine having the courage or the intestinal fortitude to do something like that. It's a pretty amazing thing.
I love that. I love that about her. So whenever I see anything that's Nazi occupied, I think that's part of like, I don't know, maybe just genetically, I'm like, get the Nazis.
You got the good genes. That's good.
Yeah, whatever. Like, what would you do if you lived in that time? I'm like, I know exactly what I'd do.
Yep, it's in my genes, it's in my blood.
Anyway, so yes, Harrison Ford does the worst Scottish accent, and they're not buying it, but he punches him in the face, so who cares? And he ends up finding his father in the library. He's being kept away, and he tells him about the Knight's Tomb, and Henry is like, has lost the plot that he's being like kidnapped by Nazis and just really wants to know about this Knight's Tomb. The Nazis come into the room and demand the diary. Um, and they kind of then grab Elsa and threaten to kill her. And Henry says, like, let her die. Like, she's a Nazi. And Indy's like, no, like, I don't want to let her die. Like, it's fine. I'll give them the diary. He does. And then it's revealed that she is, in fact, a Nazi. In my favorite line ever, once they're tied up, how did you know which shoe's Nazi? She talks in her sleep.
Yes, yes. And again, I'm just going to keep saying this throughout this podcast. Another thing that people have tried to copy that line over and over again, and it's like, dude, be original. Spielberg did it. It's like the South Park episode Simpsons did it. It's
Yes.
Spielberg did it. Spielberg did
Yes.
it first, right?
Yeah. And that was improvised by Connery. That wasn't in the original
Oh,
script.
wow. Okay, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
He was in because he read the original script and he liked it, but he said, no, like what's gonna make this film work is that Indy is the dynamic that I think everybody likes about it is that Indy isn't this impressive guy around his dad. He's just a
Hmm.
boy.
Hmm.
And everything he's done, well, his father's
He's already done it.
done that too. His father already knows that. So he's like, let's take it to this one gross Sean Connery step of like he literally has already done that.
Brilliant. I mean, that's brilliant. Bravo, Sean Connery.
I love it. It's so funny. Donovan then also is there, reveals that he's a Nazi, and that he tricked Indy into helping him. Elsa confronts them about uh about the map and saying like, "Where is it? It's in the diary. I know it's here." And then Indy tells them it's with Brody, and he goes on this little tangent with my like favorite cut too, where he's like, he's got a Tuesday head start on you, which is more than he needs. Brody's got friends in every town and every village from here to the Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages, knows every local custom. He'll blend in, he'll disappear, you'll never find him. With any luck, he already has the Grail. Immediate cut to Brody, who's like the whitest man in the universe, being like, does anyone speak English?
Does anyone here speak English? Yeah, just sticking out like a sore thumb. I love that. That's one of my favorite too. It will never, even just you reading at me, picturing the scene in my head, I will never not laugh at that. It's so funny because I remember I distinctly remember watching that for the first time and just crying laughing. Like it's such a great comedic beat.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then he is like promptly captured by the Nazis. We then cut back to Indy and Henry, who are tied up to the chair, and they've been left alone by the SS, by Elsa and by Donovan. And essentially, Indy then has to explain that like Marcus Brody is not quite the asset in which he said he was going to be. They then accidentally set the room on fire when trying to burn themselves out of their ropes, and we have what I love because it is an incredibly like Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo sequence of them hopping their chairs into the fireplace that then spins into the room of Nazis and then spins back
Yes.
into the fire.
Very Scooby Doo. You're right. That is a very Scooby Doo thing. Like I love that sequence as well. I love that you're a
It's so
Scooby Doo fan too, by the way. I love Scooby Doo.
It's a fucking problem. I own every like piece of Scooby-Doo media I could find. I own all of it. And lots of it from like the original like stuff that I was like given for like my 5th birthday stuff.
It's I so I'm sorry. I feel like I've hijacked your podcast and I feel like we're going way over time and I apologize, but
Okay. That's fine.
we're having a fun time. I'm having fun talking to you, so hopefully listeners are too. I love Scooby Doo. I had a Great Dane for years. I'm a huge fan of Great Danes, and Scooby Doo is like one of my all-time favorite. So I'll leave it there. We could talk about Scooby Doo for another podcast.
We definitely should. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta come back on for a Scooby-Doo thing.
Absolutely, I will. I'm there.
Deep dive. Okay. So they manage to escape, and they escape on a motorbike with a sidecar, with Henry Jones sitting in there with his little bucket hat. We then have a cool chase scene with some jousting, which I kind of like, just bringing it all back into the I think just trying to have an overall theme of like the Knights of the Round Table. And Indy is just doing these like stunt after stunt after stunt, and then he keeps looking at his dad, who just keeps looking at him like, okay.
Yeah.
And he's like so impressed with himself, he like looks over, he's like, yeah, and then it just no reaction. Once they've escaped, Henry wants to go and get the rest of the diary, because he said it's not just the map, it's the information and the clues that we need. And so they go to Berlin instead of going right away to get the map with Brody, because they also don't know he's been captured. And I like this line that Henry says: "The quest for the Grail is not archaeology, it's a race against evil. If it's captured by the Nazis, the armies of darkness will march all over the face of the earth. Do you understand me?" And I like that so much, because I think it just separates the Nazis from the Joneses.
Yeah.
This pursuit of like, we're not actually going to seek this object for any sort of world power. We are just trying to stop this, like, what feels at the time, I think, in that part of the world, this unstoppable force. We're doing everything we can to make sure that these evil people do not like take over the world.
Right. No. I hear you. Yeah. And also I think when it comes to, and this I think is a theme throughout a lot of the Jones film, is like I don't know, I can't speak, preservation of history, like preserving history. Like that's such a special thing, I think, in these movies, right? It's something, and it's also something the National Treasure films kind of took from these films as well, is like, yeah, it's a quest, but it's also about preserving history and not letting history be diluted or manipulated, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, it cuts right back to the next scene, where we see the next scene is the Nazis burning all these books, which I think is the one moment, I think, in the film that really, there's a few, but like it, where you're really confronted, I think, with like less cartoony Nazis and more like, no, they burnt thousands and thousands of books to control the people in this
Right.
region, so that they couldn't have outside thought and opinion or anything against the Third Reich. And this scene makes me like, there's actually several moments in this movie that make me cry, but it always makes me cry. Like, I just think about the loss of, like, I mean, there's still information in those books that were burned that we'll never have again.
Yeah.
This lost history. And Indy finds Elsa, and he takes the diary back, and then this like awesome scene where he's marching in his SS uniform trying to get out of
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah.
There comes the other way, and Hitler grabs the book, and he's terrified he's going to throw it in the fire, and Hitler thinks he's going to sign it, and he signs his name, and he hands it back to Indy, this roadmap to the Grail.
Yeah.
I love that one. We then have this scene where the Nazis are now looking for them, and they have this sequence on the
Love it.
Berlin.
I love the whole Zeppelin. I love it. I have a thing for blimps too. I would never get on one, but I just think that they are awesome.
There's another Spielberg moment of humor where they're like, he's pretending to be the ticket guy.
Yeah.
And then he ends up getting in a physical fight with one of the SS officers, punches him, knocks him off the blimp, and instead of like explaining it any other way, he just says no ticket, and then everybody
Yep.
pulls out their tickets. And then we have a really nice moment where Indy and his father, and this is where we get into Spielberg's fathers and sons dynamic, where they talk about how Henry basically says, I did my best, I did care about you, your mother died, I was left by myself. And Indy said, you didn't really. And you didn't really do. What you taught me was that I was less important than people who've been dead for 500 years in another country. And I learned it so well, we haven't spoken in 20 years. And I love that. And I think anybody that's struggled with a relationship with a parent, or have had a parent who has like very big dreams, when you kind of live in the shadow of that, I think it is, like, even though it's something like semi-silly or childish, of like this magical cup that they're looking for, essentially. Like, it is, I think, a through line that is through a lot of families, where having kids was just a thing you did before, not a thing that you thought about doing. And so, there's these family structures that you end up in where, you definitely know you weren't the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just here. There's a lot of us that probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with you. I've seen it in some really close friends that have struggled with that. Not on the scale of like something like as grand as even this, obviously, but just like you said, like the inconvenience of a child sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I I love that. And I think that's what separates like the Indiana Jones franchise from like a lot of other franchise action films. It doesn't this isn't a particularly long scene. I think it's like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
but it changes the impact. They then sort of discuss the plan about what's going forward. The Zeppelin begins to turn around, essentially discover that they're on there, and so they jump in a small plane. I guess it's a safety plane. I don't know if blimps just have planes attached to them, but they jump in a plane, and Henry asks, "Do you know how to do this?" And he says, "Fly, yes. Land, no."
No, yeah.
Take off. And then we have this long action sequence of them like being chased through the plane, landing the plane, jumping into a car, driving off, and then the plane flying through the tunnel and exploding. And then the second plane follows them to that beach where we see Henry Jones get the idea to have the seagulls fly into the air and smash into the plane. I suddenly remembered my Charlemagne, let my armies be the rock, the trees, and the birds in the sky, which I love. We then cut to the Nazis. They negotiate a trade for permission to go through the Canyon of the Crescent Moon. The Joneses arrive, and Sala informs them that the Nazis have also been traveling there using the map, and the Nazis are attacked by the Brotherhood, as they are not in control under the Sultan with the agreement. They solely exist to protect the Grail. And then we see Indy and Sala and Henry. They were watching all this and they use this as an opportunity to go and rescue Brody. It doesn't go well. Indy ends up on top of a tank trying to free both Henry and Brody. And we have a sequence where we think that Indy has fallen off the edge of a cliff and died. And then this is where we have this moment that I love of Sean Connery's. He doesn't even do anything. It's just the way he relaxes his face, where there's so much tension and there's so much of like release of like, oh, there's so much I didn't say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, so much of acting is facial expression, right? Like we think of acting as dialogue, but so much of acting is just done through mannerisms and facial expressions. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I I, I don't think, did you really, I mean, as a kid, I really thought he was dead too, by the way. Like I'm like, oh, they killed off, you know what I mean? Like I remember being a kid being like, is he dead? Like did they really just kill off Indiana Jones?
I never see a plot twist coming.
Yeah, that's
Like,
good to know. Okay.
ever. I'm like, you can drop me and I won't figure it out. I won't figure out. That's not my strong
That's
suit,
good
so
though. Hey, I mean, it
I'm
makes
on the edge of my seat. It has to be really bad for me to figure it out.
yeah, like if Holly knows it's coming, then we're
The
in.
script's real bad.
Yeah, yeah. I see. I don't want to. If I see I was just watching something the other day and I knew what the plot twist was and I was so irritated. So I kind of wish I was in your shoes. Like I love being surprised. Like there's nothing better than experiencing a plot twist I think for the first time or just something happening for the first time. Like there's just something special about it. So I envy you.
Yeah, well, for me, it's sometimes I can get nervous watching a horror movie for the second time.
Oh, really? Like it brings a
Oh, it comes back. Like Nosferatu, I just watched for like the fourth time, and I was like still anxious. I'm like, why am I anxious? I
Aw.
know every beat of this film.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being an issue. I like
It's
for
enjoyable.
yeah, but for me, like I have this issue where it's like I should have mentioned this in the beginning. If it's a rewatch, if something is rewatchable to me, then it's a good film. Like if it's something that I can't rewatch, then it's like it's not a good movie to me.
Yeah, totally. We then see, then Indy's revealed to be alive about 2 seconds later. The four of them then head to the temple. The Nazis have beaten them. We sort of see the traps that have been set up that the Nazis have fallen for, and then Donovan, in order to manipulate Indy, shoots Henry and says, "Well, the only way you're gonna be able to save your dad is if you go get that girl for me."
Mm-hmm.
And then we see him do the journey, and I really like the juxtaposition of Henry having that entire diary in his head as he's repeating his things that he's looked at for years and years and years as Indy's physically doing it. The different challenges, and my favorite one is the leap of faith. I
Same.
think just has so much symbolism in it in
Yep.
terms of do you believe, not just do you believe in the Grail and do you believe in this journey and God and all the religious aspect of it, but again boiling down to the fathers and sons of Do you believe in the work of your father? Do you understand that your path is his path? I think there's so much.
There is, and you took the words out of my mouth. That's something that rewatching this, I'm a Christian and I have faith, and just the way that this movie, like that right there, is a perfect example of like Jesus following like God's will to the cross. Like, there's no way you can tell me that Spielberg wasn't like using that as imagery here. Like
Oh, for
100%.
sure.
And it's just so brilliant. And yeah, I've seen this movie a million times, and this was like the first time that I really caught that. Was like this, he's using the idea of Christianity, like all of this, the crucifixion, all those things as imagery here. I mean, I was like, man, he is just so brilliant the way that he incorporates these kind of themes into his storytelling. Just masterful.
Absolutely. And this film is, I mean, granted, it's dealing with more of the Christian, they're the New Testament elements of the Bible, but the Raiders is distinctly Jewish. And then with Temple of Doom being in quotation Hindu.
Right. Yeah.
And voodoo, which have nothing to do with each other. But like this is a distinctly Christian feeling
Mm.
film in a way that's not like totally like it's not super like in your face, but
Right.
like especially if you're somebody that has I don't really know where I'm at with faith. I've read a lot of stuff and but somebody who has explored faith, I think if you are somebody who is just another layer of this film, you're like, wow, this is so brilliant. And if you don't understand the Bible, like you are missing this.
I mean, I grew up in the church, and like and I've seen this movie 1,000 times, like literally, like, and this was the first time that it really hit me. Like again, that is the beauty of film, is like you can catch something new every time you watch something, but it was like maybe I didn't completely understand, you know, the nuances of a faith or something. I mean, I've watched this, like I've watched this within the last 10 years, but it just this time it caught me. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's really profound, the journey. And then same thing, the more I watch it, the more it just comes to fruition for me as well. We get to the end and and this is, this lends to Spielberg's care too, when Elsa is choosing the cup and she chooses the ornate one that she thinks like the Son of God would
Right?
have.
Yeah.
Indy chooses, but that's not how Jesus saw himself. He was a humble carpenter,
Carpenter's son. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and he didn't put himself above anybody else, nor did he preach that. I think some Christians have forgotten
Yeah.
that.
A lot.
We are all equal, and I do not deserve anything more than the people who I would be sharing this meal would have.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It also is a juxtaposition of like how the Nazis viewed, like I feel like how they view the word, like conquer, dominate, gold, like consume, like absorb, like get what you can, steal, and versus like you mentioned before, like the juxtaposition between the Joneses and the Nazis, right? Like they're on the opposite side. Like just again, brilliant filmmaking. They don't make them like they used to.
No, they really don't. The Donovan drinks out of the wrong cup. He perishes, drinks, and he gets it right. He's able to take it to Henry to revive him, but the knight says, you can't take it beyond this boundary or everything will collapse. Elsa sees an opportunity once Henry has been revived to try and steal the cup. The temple begins to collapse. This poor knight that's been waiting there for like 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's like had his good thing going and now his temple's going down. He looks so sad. And we see just this great moment where it's again just like these little choices where we see Elsa, the grail falls, she goes to reach for it, and Indy's like, I can't hold on to, he's trying to say, I can't hold on to you. And you see her reach for the power and her glove slips and she falls to her death. And then 2 seconds later, we see Indy in the same thing. And the same thing, like, where we're all exposed, and this is a religious Christian subtext, like we're all exposed to these things. There's always going to be these moments where there's things that are so appealing that can give us power, can give us gratification, give us all these things, but like at what cost? And he's reaching for it. And it's the first moment, and this it might make me cry seeing it, but it's his dad that like pulls him out of that by calling him Indiana, by like seeing
Yes.
him for who he feels he is, instead of calling him Junior through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Indiana, like, let it go. And this moment of Indy, like, realizing, like, oh, my dad did love me the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, this truly is just an object.
Right. That's beautiful. Yeah. I think this movie, you said like there's a couple times you like I cry throughout. It's like this movie is a lot more emotional than I remembered. Like, and I think part of that is having a child myself and a son, and viewing the father-son relationship in through a different light. rather than viewing it as a son, as I had many times. I haven't watched this movie since I had a son, but that moment it struck me as well. It's like I couldn't imagine being in that position, right? But yeah, I'm with you, 100%.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then the girl falls into the abyss, everybody escapes, and then we have my favorite thing, which is actually a callback to Indiana, which is what he's named after, which is George Lucas's Malamute.
I know, I love it.
And he says, "Why do you call him Junior?" That's his name, Henry Jones Jr. And he was like, "I like Indiana. We named the dog Indiana," which I love. And we're Malamute fans on this podcast. I have a Malamute.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
I have a big lazy lump.
That is awesome.
They are furry potatoes.
They're so similar to a Great Dane, it sounds like.
Yeah, fur potatoes. Like they just want to sleep on the bed or on the floor. But I've got to go. I've got to put my kid to bed. This has been really great. Thanks so much for being on the podcast,
Thank you for
Brian.
having me on. Sorry it took, I feel like this is the longest. I looked at all your stuff and it was like an hour long, but thank you so much.
This was so fun. I have to have you back on.